Good morning, all. Thanks for coming and thanks for having me here. Oh, do you know where's the pointer? I'm really happy to be here in your beautiful state of Utah. It's just such a gorgeous state. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So I want to share with you today our experiences we have had in what is part of the Chihuahuan Desert on the Mexican side. So probably you're pretty familiar. We actually have the same plants. We had the opportunity to visit property here, and we have like the same woody plants and some of the same grasses. Actually, my ranch is in the same elevation as here. But in Chihuahua, in the state of Chihuahua, in northern Mexico, we have also all kinds of, the same as you, the flats, the hills, also the forest with oaks, pines. And the beautiful thing is what we're doing is that we are actually, nowadays, we have good references all across the state. So it's very difficult for newcomers to find an excuse not to do it. And we have seen incredible things just happening. Like we don't fight any more mesquite, we don't fight any more juniper, because the grasses are actually taking over those plants and killing those plants. So let's start with this presentation so I can share with you some of the things we have seen and done. Oh yeah, there we go. So that is, that's where the ranch is, right there. And this is the whole Chihuahuan Desert. Yep. So we have hot summers. It's very extreme, the temperature. Hot summers, cold winters or cold, like it goes to 10 Fahrenheit. So there's some parts in Chihuahua that this year went to almost 0 Fahrenheit. And then those parts of Chihuahua, like the western part, we still get these rains. Well, they get these rains. I don't, but they get these rains, and they've been getting some snow this year from what is coming from California. Think about that, what's going on with so very little rain that we get, all the erosion that is going on. Next. Well, no, the previous one. Look at that fence. That fence was only built like 50 years ago. We definitely don't want to see that happening here in Utah or any other rural environments. Because even with little rain, but when the soil is bare, no grass or no plants, then the water strength is just incredible, and it will take all the topsoil. So it only took 15 years. But if you notice, next please, if you notice, there's a layer of carbon still there. What does that mean? That means that there used to be beautiful, tall grasses there. And we have evidence that all these areas used to be nice, beautiful grasslands. Because when the Spaniards came, the priests were documenting, and actually there is an expedition, the Escalante Dominguez expedition, that we're trying to find on the 1700s, trying to find a way going from Santa Fe, New Mexico, to California. And they came by Utah. And when they saw Salt Lake City, they said that they had never seen such a pristine grasslands anywhere in what used to be New Spain. So just because you see a degraded place right now, that doesn't mean that it has to be that way. It could be different. This is a rainfall pattern. So we mostly get all the rains in 3 months. We used to have good snow like 20, 30 years ago, but it's just going away. So what we do is we try to take advantage of that rain, and then we stockpile grass for the next 12 months in case it doesn't rain, because it's getting more difficult, to handle the ranches nowadays. So we have enough grass for our cattle and sheep for the next 12 months. Unfortunately, this is a graph that shows you what has happened in the last 40 years, particularly in my property. But I don't think it's different than other properties. So this is, I gave this guy in the US the perimeter of my ranch, and he helped me determine the precipitation. If you see on the first 20 years, when it was raining, we got more rain, and then the droughts were not less than 8 inches. I would love to have 8 inches today on a drought. That would be an easy drought for me. But now, on the last 20 years that I've been managing the ranch, the droughts have been more intense, and the rainy years are not that much rain. So that's what we're dealing with. Last year, we only got 4 inches, 2023. But what I have also seen in my ranch is that we are creating a microclimate, and then now I got a couple of neighbors on board. So we're getting about 10% more rain. Because I don't know you remember, or I don't know you got that rain, but in 2022 we got like a hurricane coming from the Gulf of Mexico, and it dropped a lot of water in the state of Chihuahua in 2022. And most people got 4 or 5 inches. I got 9 inches that time. So it does make a difference when you have your soil covered to get that extra rain. But despite that we are having less rain, this is another graph that actually shows you that we are increasing the photosynthesis. So we have more green plants with less rain, and it's all about management. Why do we care about photosynthesis? Because if we can extend the green season in our grasses, we don't have to spend money. Because cows really need something green, otherwise we'll have to supplement protein. But if I can keep my grasses green, but don't get confused that, oh yeah, we can have the grasses green, like lush green, like summer. No, I mean a little bit of green at the bottom in winter or during the dry season. That is enough for me not to have to give any supplement year round. So I'm trying to graze year round. Next. So this is a view from the house. So we have a big mountain range within the ranch, and this is when it rains. Next. And sometimes we got snow. Not as we used to have snow as before, but we still have some snow once in a while. So just to give you a little more background, our ranch is 30,000 acres. We are running 500 cows and, well, now 400 sheep. And we have about, less than 9 inches of rain. Trying to translate from metric to, and the only input we use is sea salt. We don't give anything else to the cows, just sea salt. And we have not used any chemical or mechanical or seeding or burning or any subsidies. Because in Mexico, we don't want to see the government in our ranches because that's kind of scary that they may take away your ranch. So yeah, don't help me, but just don't be here nearby. And we use just management. Sometimes we call it rationally because it's a thinking process, not rotationally, but rationally, it's a thinking process. And just to compare, because the thing, folks, is that if you don't do anything different than what we're doing, conventionally doing, and we're working with nature, nature is very dynamic, it's always changing. And then if you say, well, I'm about 10 years ago, I'm about the same. And I will say, I don't think you're the same. Because you're going to go forward or backwards, but you cannot stay on the same spot. So it depends on your management, whether you're improving or you're actually degrading your land. And we'll go back a little bit. Yeah. So we are able to run a cow per every 20 acres. while the neighbors need actually almost 200 acres to run one cow. And it's getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And we all know that. Right now, there's many years that we talk about overgrazing being the big problem. But with all these droughts, constantly droughts, we've been destocking, and now most of the grass is dying because of too much rest, undergrazing, too much rest. We don't have enough cows, even if we have the knowledge, we don't have enough cows to revert the degradation. So a lot of grasses are dying because of the lack of grazing. So how do we go from that bare ground to that place? And I took that picture on the same day. I mean, that picture is a property nearby, and this is my property. We would never even expect to have grasses 7 feet tall. And if you see if you read about that particular grass, the green spangle top, which we call it in Mexico, zacate gigante, like giant grass, it says that it needs like 15 to 20 inches. I can grow that grass with 6 inches, combined with a long rest period. And that is one of the reasons why we provide long rest periods. Not only to stockpile grass for the drought, but also to allow all grasses to fully develop. Because if I were grazing based on what I used to have right now, before, which was probably just like tobosa, like your gallera, I would be overgrazing that grass. We cannot manage for what we have. We have to raise the bar and say, I don't want to have 20 different grasses. I want to have 100 different grasses. When we start, we can count probably just like 15 grasses. The last count that the bird guys, the bird organization did, they counted almost 100 grasses. And then not only grasses we need also forbs. But I think in most ranches we're overgrazing the succession of grasses because we're actually grazing multiple times per year. And we don't notice that, but it's happening. Okay, keep going, yeah. So I like that verse from the Bible because it tells you really a lot. Because I was telling these days people that I used to consider myself like a grass farmer or grass rancher, how you want to call it. But I don't want to be anymore a grass farmer. Because I noticed that when you actually manage well, the grasses are going to help you restore the water cycle. But once you restore the grasslands, then you will have multiple forbs. So go to the next one. Like here, we have at the ranch a well-established grasslands. This is actually a bunch of side oats. I don't know if you have seen side oats, and that is a forb that is really good for the cattle. But that forb, or herb, I want to call it, that only grows among the grass. So next. That's a video. Let's see if we can play that video. Did it play? No? Okay. So see, that's what I want to see in my ranch. I want to see grasses, forbs, all kinds of combination of things. And you can see like, well, it doesn't, I don't hear the sound, but, well, so you can see the birds, you can see the bees, you can see the butterflies. And that ties back to the verse. The promised land is the land of milk and honey. So I ask people, what do you need to produce milk and honey? Forbs. Grasses will not provide anything to the bees. So once you establish your grasslands, you know, the cherry on the cake will be the forbs. And that's why we actually try to promote a more intensive grazing combined with a long rest period. So you will have grasses and forbs. Because forbs need better water cycle than grasses. We're seeing right now here, right? With all the rains you're getting, now all those beautiful legumes and all that stuff is coming up. Next. I don't know how familiar you are with the breaks, but the message here is that as you improve the soil health, you're going to improve the breaks of your grasses. They are pretty commonly used on vineyards or even in Mexico on the agave production to measure the sugars. Typically in the US, we are about four on the measure of bricks, 4 or 5, which is pretty low on grasses. But the forbs, well, think about what the brakes is going to do for you. It's just incredible. As you increase the brakes, you're going to increase the average daily gains. Obviously, also the health of your livestock. Next. And then there will be a point that your plants are going to be so strong that they will not be affected by grasshoppers or other pests. And remember, forbs will easily outcompete grasses in terms of energy and protein. So almost by default, if you measure the bricks on a forb or even a wheat, it will be 15 and above when the grasses are just 5. That's why when you put the cattle in a pasture, they go after the forbs and legumes and all that stuff. Next. This is a typical view where I am. Actually, you're familiar with that plant as well, you know, creosote. And when I was working with the Berg organizations, they told me, you know, I think we have a product that is going to help you kill that woody plant because that's preventing you from growing grass. But I say, no, if you're going to bring something to the ranch, it has to promote life, not kill life. Because there's a reason for that creosote to be there. Because that's still doing photosynthesis. Even if we created a mess of getting rid of all the grasses, there's still the creosote feeding the microbiology in the soil. So my recommendation, and I think I've been missing this message here, is work for what you want. Stop working for what you don't want. We have such a strong tendency to kill. Oh, yeah, that creosote is preventing me from growing grass. No, that has nothing to do with it. If you just focus on growing grass, it will be better than us wasting the time. Next. So there you go. We were able to grow grass among the creosote. And I usually tell people, you know, the good thing is that the grass never read the books that he couldn't grow on the creosote. Because these allelopathic effects and all that stuff. Okay, next. So this used to be our winters, tough winters, you know, a lot of bare ground, a lot of oxidized grass, a lot of supplementation. We were supplementing like for 6 months. And then next, those are our winters nowadays. Big difference. When I got my mentor, like 15 years ago, holistic management practitioner, he went to my ranch and he said, Alex, well, I'm Alex in Mexico and then I'm Alejandro here. So he said, Alejandro, Alex, so you're thinking about having more livestock, a better business, wildlife, but what you haven't thought about it is that this is going to give more years of life to your dad. And my dad is 90 years old and he's so excited because think about the excitement of seeing this before. Compared to the other one, it's just like, it's going to give us like a peace of mind. It goes beyond what we can do with the biology. Next. See, the picture taken the same time. It's not only having grass, folks, it's having better grasses. Because on the left picture is just like rotational grazing. But on the right side, which is my ranch, it's actually, and these were neighbors here, is a more intentional grazing, more intensive combined with a long rest period. Next. This is a neighbor on the south. So think about it. I actually graze very deep my grass. This is on this side. And I'm running 4 times more cattle than that neighbor. That picture was taken after 6 months of no rain. Or 7 months of no rain. And then my grass is coming up. And my neighbor's grass is just there. And we always, we need more rain, we need more rain. And that always reminds me the extension agent in the US on the early 1900s that says, don't pray for rain if you don't know what to do with it. So yeah, that was in the spring, I think April, and the next. This is summer. So we ended up, right side, is my side. We ended up with more cattle producing more forage of better quality. Next. This is quite an interesting picture because the left side is also a ranch that is doing rotational with very few cows, staying too long. And the right side is winter. The right side is my ranch. And I asked the experts in grasses, oh, can you tell me what grasses are these? Well, yeah, the left side is tobosa. Or the right side? Oh, we've never seen it. Well, it's the same grass. It's just different management. So one metric that you need to keep an eye on it is the leaf to stem ratio. Why do I have more leaves on the right side? Because naturally, when you are improving the soil, the microherb, which is in microbiology, is going to increase, and it's going to ask the grass, hey, we need more feed. You better extend the solar panels. And the grass automatically, it will create a better canopy with more leaves. And that will benefit not only the microherb, but also our livestock and wildlife and so on. Because if you see about how cattle graze or livestock graze, they really love the leaves. Way more than the stems. Next one. So I pulled those couple of grasses. And then unfortunately, on those grasses that are more sick on the ever place, you can pull it with all the roots. Why? Why can you pull a grass with all the roots with your hand, which if it is a perennial grass? Because the way we manage, we are taking a perennial to behave like an annual grass. And then on the right side is my grass, and not even my donkeys would be able to pull those roots because they have deep roots. Next. Are you familiar with that grass? Well, think about the difference. I took that picture in Wyoming. Right side is conventional grazing, left side is more holistic regen grazing. I think what we consider to be pretty bad grasses, it will change if you change your management. Remember, it's more leafy, as we were saying, right? Less stems. It will provide much better nutrition for livestock and wildlife. Next. So, next one, yeah. So, this is, as ranchers, we actually sometimes don't take the time to actually document because we're always like busy in something. But I finally took some time to actually take the picture on the same spot. And the reference is that little hill or mountain that is on the back, which is, we call it the Elephant Butte. And this was in 2015. You still see bare ground and some weeds. And the next one. And now more weeds. If you get animal impact and you get weeds, oh my God, you gotta celebrate that. Because you cannot jump from bare ground to 7 feet tall grasses. That is just impossible. I have some friends who go to my ranch and they grab the seeds of the 7 feet tall grasses. Well, it doesn't work that way. How it works is we need to create the conditions in the soil for those seeds to germinate. But we got a lot of support from nature because after you do animal impact, the livestock bring in the biology, then nature is gonna exactly give you, on rangeland, we don't need to guess. Nature is gonna give you exactly what you need at that point in time. It may be another woody plant, it may be a toxic weed, but it may be all other kind of weeds or forbs, and those are actually fixing the soil for annuals to appear, annual grasses. And then from small perennials, and then annuals, and then so on until you establish the grasslands perennials, because we need to strive to get perennial base. So that way we don't depend much on the rains. We're always gonna have something green. And then 3 years after, then we established some grasslands there. Next one. Well, this is like talking about the same thing, you know, with the scientific names, how we are actually transitioning from when you have bare soils, nature gets really aggressive. So what do we usually do? Oh, kill the local weeds, kill that stuff, kill the cactus, kill that. But we don't advance because we're not changing the way we graze. And not only changing the way you graze, but also combine that with a long rest period. Even some people ask me, so how are your grasslands gonna look like? Because right now we're killing mesquite and all the woody plants that have no place among the grasslands. If you see where the mesquite is encroaching, or the juniper, or many of those times, it's because you have too many annuals, you don't have perennials, and the water cycle is broken. And nature is sending you those plants to still cover the soil. Next. Next one, I think we're mentioning. So we're killing, see, this is the plant that you have here, the woody plant. We're killing the creosote with the grasses. Next. We're killing, well, that's a different plant. You may not have it here, but it's in the Chihuahua Desert. We're killing the tarbush. Next. And the small mesquites are going away. Next one. And the mid-sized mesquites are going away. Just with the management. No chemicals there. And then we have mesquites that are like big ones. They're dying as well. Yeah, let's talk a little bit of the water cycle. Next one. This is a picture of a friend of mine. And you may say, well, yeah, he took the picture at the precise time, you know. Reality is that the left side is under better management, the right side is more conventional management. And we do experiment more rain, the guys doing this. I cannot tell you what size you need to have, but for example, in my 30,000 acre ranch, probably I have half of the ranch with solid grasslands. That's enough to actually start getting additional light rains, which accumulate into probably 10% more than neighboring ranches. Next. And I believe we have to talk about the effective rainfall, right? Don't tell me how much rain you get, but how much rain you keep. Like in Chihuahua and also in Colorado, they did a study and we're keeping only like 40%. So if I'm in a 10-inch per year precipitation area, effectively I'm only getting 40%, like 4 inches. Think about the whole mess we have created. We're not infiltrating the water. We have perennial or annual grasses with very shallow roots. We have a lot of bare ground. So that's why it's very difficult for us to get over the drought because we have everything against us. And remember, nature is very abundant when we work with her, but it's tough when we don't work with her. And if we get all those signals, it's because nature is saying, let's see if there's someone else better than you that can do this. And it's gonna send us toxic plants, and plants are with thorns, and so on. So those are, for me, clear signals that she's telling me, you know, you better change because I bad last. So next one. I like this picture. A friend of mine that is working in Texas, he sent me this picture and then he said, well, what's going on, Alex? Because we're on the right side, he said, and we're growing a lot of grass. But the guys who are not doing a good job are getting all the snow. Well, the point here is that if you have the soil cover, the temperatures of the soil are going to be more consistent, cooler in summer and warmer in winter. So he got more snow, but the snow melted way faster. So it does work in winter, it does work in summer, it helps in all the seasons to have a good soil, covering the soil. Next. Well, this is just comparing the temperatures. I measured that at, well, this is in Celsius, but 10:30 a.m. before getting to my ranch, it was already at 112. Next one. I got into my ranch 1 hour after, which is supposed to be more warmer, and I only got 75 in my glasses. See, once you start managing, now everything is going to help you. Next. Fire. Wow, that's a controversy, right, when we talk about fire, because we don't use fire. But I just want to tell you something. On the forests need to have grasslands as well. There's a study in Russia of these scientists that have been living all their life on Siberia. And they found that even so thick forests, they need the ruminants, but they are kind of having this crazy idea of getting back these all like huge bisons and mammoths and all that stuff to get the grasslands back. So next, look at this study done in California by the NASA. The drier the soil, the more fire you're gonna have. So what is lacking the soil? I mean, they have the trees, they have the forest, grasslands. We need grasslands everywhere. Well, probably not in the Amazonia, but yeah, because the grasses actually are the ones that keep the temperatures more consistent. We also have a team of engineers helping us, and they work 24/7, no pay. I think I like that, free labor. So next. What do you think about that cow pie? Do you think it's a good cow pie? Anyone? Yes? Why no? Exactly, it's still there. See, we don't apply ivermectin or this, how you call it, purons, or I don't know, well, probably not all purons have ivermectin, but because we ended up killing those engineers. In this case, it's the dung beetles. Because you would always be handicapped. We have gone so far on this that we are even applying ivermectin in bison. Whoa, my God, that is incredible. We're gonna ended up having with bison pets. So, yeah, we don't want to see that because all the carbon was lost instead of being integrated. Next. We want to see that activity. You may be thinking, well, yeah, but in Mexico it's so sunny and sandy and that the dung beetles are going to thrive. Well, I think we have more than 100 different dung beetles in the US. And even, for example, in Gay Brown's ranch, North Dakota, which they do have pretty cold winters, Paul, his son, before he get married, so he got some free time, he did a study on the dung beetles, and he found more than 25 dung beetles in North Dakota. And these specifically dung beetles are the tunnelers. They're pretty efficient putting the dung beetle, but you have the rollers, you have the ones living just on the cow pie. So the more diversity of dung beetles, the more dung beetles, and the more diversity of dung beetles, the better it will be. Next, this is the kind of work that the dung beetles do. It's just incredible. This is a side view. They put most of the cow pie into the soil, and if you're fixing the water cycle, because they need certain weather, but also they need moisture. Next. This is a cow pie that has been completely worked. That's what we want to see. The cow pie is created like a microclimate. Next. Well, these are different other examples of the cow pies. For example, when you have that cow pie, which you actually take a look at it, and it was worked by the dung beetles, but now we have also the termites finishing the work. So once it Once the dung beetles finish, then you have the termites coming in and then leaving nothing behind. Next. Well, there you go, the termites. Probably you don't want to see them in your house, but on the rangeland, they're just beautiful creatures. Next. See, and let me explain you this. That mesquite is dying because it's among the grasslands, right, on the upper left. Oh, okay. Then we start seeing that some branches were falling. And we gotta have an answer why was going on. It was only on those mesquites that were among the grasses. Mesquites that were still on bare ground, they were thriving because that's what they want. They don't grow well among the grasses because the grasses retain moisture and maybe they change the bacteria to fungi ratio. And we found out that there were some pruner beetles, not dung beetles, pruner beetles that they were cutting the branches were falling. And then the termites, different than the termites that were the cowpies, another termites, were actually getting all those branches and putting it into the soil. In a desert, think about that. Let's go to our context. We're in a desert. We're not in a more moisture environment. We're in a desert, but we've been able to fix the water cycle by growing more grasslands. And this is a legume, right? Well, mesquite is a legume. Now the work of fixing nitrogen is done by the termites, because the termites are the insects with the richest bacteria, nitrogen bacteria, fixed nitrogen bacteria. So they actually put a lot of nitrogen into the soil, the termites. Well, next, trying to switch here. Even our oxidized grass, on places where we have fixed the water cycle, the termites take down the oxidized grass. So really, in nature, nothing gets wasted, but we don't use any toxics as well. When Gabe Brown, last time that Gabe Brown was in my ranch, he told me, Alex, because he was in Mexico. So I have never seen so many insects in any place on any state in the US. I think we are excessive. We are using toxics. Terrible there. We're killing all the insects. Next. Well, diversity of grazers. We have like 5% of donkeys within our livestock. Why donkeys? We don't really use donkeys for protection. We use donkeys to do a better grazing, a more even grazing, because these donkeys are gonna take whatever is the cows don't want to take. We don't force our cows to take everything, because we cannot force them because they will die because we don't supplement. So the donkeys has been a nice addition in order to get a more even grazing. If they can, I can even see, I have seen donkeys even eating paper. Well, we don't have paper at the ranch, but yeah. I mean, actually, if you ask me, oh, Alejandro, if you have your ranch was so degraded, how would you have started? Probably I would have thrown a bunch of donkeys with a few cows, because it's very difficult to regenerate a place that is so degraded with just cows. And yeah, goats are really good as well, but they're small and they're predated, and then you have to build different fences, and donkeys they don't represent a problem. And I was sharing with one of you guys when I was in Australia last year, and I was planning to demo the donkeys. One guy who took me offline, he told me, I know a rancher who used to have 300 horses, and every 7 years he ran the horses on a pasture every 7 years, and he actually grazed up to the bottom. But every 7 years he renewed the pasture that way. And when he died and his sons took over, they said, oh, too many horses, sell them all. And then the land started getting degraded again. So it would be nice to use these horses or donkeys instead of burning the pastures. Next. See, they are crazy donkeys. They even eat that ocotillo. Next. So also genetics play a really very important role here, folks, because cows really need to help us on the regeneration, not being a problem or something that is lagging behind. And think about for a moment, we as ranchers, when we're making decisions on what to do with our cows, we make the decision based on the bottom, on the poor performers, right? I mean, take a quick look at the cows. Oh, that is not doing good. You know? But what is that percentage that is not doing good? Because it's very typical for us ranchers to see a few cows doing poorly, and then we feed them all. So what we do at the ranch is we actually call every month. We are wearing two hats when we're moving the cows, because we move our cows daily or even twice a day. And then we act as shepherds, you know, they follow us on the next pasture. But we're also looking after the cows who are doing poorly, in body condition, hair coat, dinky calf, any kind of issue. If a cow gives us any kind of issue that it needs treatment, pink eye or, pink eye, but not necessarily that drastic, but any kind of issue that takes our time, that cow, we're gonna take those cows every month, take it into a nice large pasture, open up, because now they need selection, way more selection than what they have, and then sell them. They don't go back, because then we will go in circles. Because we're trying to keep our herd clean. Clean, otherwise those poor performers is gonna affect us or decisions of how much to open, how much to give them. Next. Just a few pictures comparing like low maintenance. I'm not saying that short cows are better than tall cows. It's just the cow tell us. Maybe there are some tall cows that are doing better, so they stay. It's just that we're looking for those factors to get rid of the cows. Next. Comparing, I mean, all these animals are on the same conditions, same situation on rangeland, and you can see the difference, for example, between those two bulls. Next. These are very nice cows down in Mexico. I think this guy is the only guy that sells to the US breeding stock, because these are like the old-fashioned Herefords in a desert. Next. These are his bulls. Next. This is probably some of you who do this, the rodeo, all that stuff, they know this cattle. It's been 500 years in Chihuahua, and they're pretty sturdy, very strong cows. But still, even those cows, there's a difference within the herds, and you need to do also your selection and calling. So from our top of the herd, then we select our bulls, like those trouble-free cows that keep good body condition, shiny coat in spring. We get the bulls, as long as the bull looks like a little bull and behaves like a little bull. And then so we can spread the genes that are helping us in our management. Because even if I have Hereford in my ranch, I would be lying to you if I say I have Hereford. I have Las Damas Hereford, because it's being customized or personalized to my ranch. Next. Look at these cows eating cactus, and we don't burn the thorns. They learn to break the pad, scratch it, and then eat it. Next. And that is after dinner. What we did there, folks, because I think someone asked that yesterday, is if we find in another ranch a cow that it does something that we don't have at the ranch, we buy a few cows for those, and that knowledge is going to be spread in the ranch. My cows never ate cactus, but the bulls, the Hereford bulls that I show you, they eat cactus, and they spread the knowledge among the other bulls, and then in the cross herd. So it's rather quickly when you have mentor cows, or however you want to call it. Next. Another very important thing, folks, here, and I screwed it up here. I think all what I'm showing to you is because I already did it the other way. How you start with this journey. See, we ranchers are practical people. I mean, we can talk for days and, oh yeah, that's great. I didn't even understand the Spanglish of Alex, so anyway. So the thing is that when you're starting, I don't want people to spend a dime, but maybe a little bit of polyvar and time. So let's be intentional, even if you say, so the idea here is that I'm trying to encourage you is to first start on the best places. And what is our tendency as humans? Yeah, oh, I don't want to see that, it's ugly. But that is, okay, so let's say, and I did that. So I say, no, I don't like that place, it's a lot of bare ground, I want to prove that this works. And then I split it, these big pastures in two. Two mistakes. First, there's not enough animal impact to make a difference. Because you splitting a pasture in two, you still have marginal impact. Because if I was splitting a 1,000 acre pasture into 2,500, then still marginal impact. The other thing is that I already put my money there, and on very degraded land, it's going to take years. So the more time that pass by, the more risk that the things are going to fall in the cracks. So we better choose your Cadillac or whatever you want to call your best areas. Could be a riparian or meadow or something. And then the deal is that usually the homework we do for the ranchers, when we're sometimes consulting, is, okay, show me your Cadillac, your best. And I got a rancher, where was that rancher? Oh, Oregon, yeah. No, sorry, Colorado. He said, oh, this is my Cadillac. Okay, so you have the water here. I only need 1/3 of this pasture. You're gonna graze for 15 days every day. So we are trying to be more intentional on the animal impact. But then the commitment is for this guy to actually set aside that for 1 full year. And then you are going to convince yourself next year, not in 5 years, that this works with the minimal investment, only probably investment in an energizer and polyvar and reels. That's how we start. And then when they start doing their planning on the water and fencing, anyway, the plan can be done across the whole ranch, but you need to actually implement based on that priority next. Like this is our ranch, next. That's how I prioritize my ranch. The darker green is the best area, so I will put more effort there, and then I go all the way, all the colors, all the way to the red areas. Why? Because that red area is the mountain range. And it's very difficult. I need to pump the water, I need to build roads, I mean, it's pretty expensive. So I'm always looking for the low-hanging fruit. Why? Because we need a faster return on investment. Or if you want to see it in a different way, you want first to protect your assets. And your assets is where you still have some grass. And if you think you have good grasses, just wait until you make more animal impact and low spears, and you're gonna see, wow, this is really cool. I wanna keep going it. Because we need to see something. We need to see something in the short term. Better if you see it next year. But as ranchers, we also need to be more experimental. We're not having enough experiments in our ranches, even at small scale. We need to do more. We need to see our ranch as a lab. Next. So we're working with all these organizations, you know. It's been taking us a while to get along with them, like on the same, well, let me correct that. That came from my heart, right? No, to get on the same page. Still struggle because sometimes they change people, but yeah, I think now they recognize that they need us. Yeah, and they support us with some infrastructure. But it's working pretty well because we're restoring the grasslands. Remember, folks, we are blessed to be here in your state of Utah and where I am. Because we are restoring what used to be before. It's very difficult for me to put up a defense if you're in the Amazonia, because you're trying to change the whole thing. And then with this kind of management, we're gonna bring back the wildlife. Like this rewilding concept. We can do that, but we just need to start with the livestock, and then the wildlife is gonna come. Next. So this is like, I mean, everything has been increasing at the ranch. Mule deer and foxes and golden eagles and javelinas and all kind of stuff. And next. So just to give you a little bit of the summary on this, comparing the conventional to the regen holistic, you gotta have a good water system. You gotta have a water system that your water system will not derail you when you don't have water. The idea is for you to be able to go where you want to go without having to actually say, oh, yeah, but I don't have water there because it didn't rain. And then the other thing is about the water systems is that it's all about the flow rate. You can have a small trough, well, relatively small trough with 1,000, 2,000 cows. That's not an issue because cows can actually wait their turn as long as there's water for them when it's their turn. The problem with the water start going down, and then it creates a chaos. But it's usually the lack of flow rate. Then, well, we're here, we're educating ourselves, and then trying to respect nature. And remember that nature's times are not the same as our times. Sometimes we try to take shortcuts and then we go back to where we were even before where we were. Well, yeah, we have multiple paddocks there. When I joined the ranch, my dad has, how are we doing with the time? 50 minutes, okay. My dad has 10 pastures. The cattle all across the ranch. All the ranch was very degraded. I remember we were riding from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. trying to all the ranch. And we never see all the cows. And then now that my dad goes there and I have all the animals in just one spot, and then at 11 a.m. we're done. And then because we were riding like 7 days and we never saw most of the animals. And by 11 a.m. we're done. And then my dad says, so what else? Well, I don't know, you can do whatever you want because we're done. Because we already saw the cows. And, well, the long rest periods. Why long rest periods? Because remember, we also have cool season grasses to a lesser degree. You know, as you go from northern Mexico all the way to North Dakota, the ratio between cool seasons and warm seasons are going to change, obviously. But we have cool season grasses, warm season grasses, tall grasses. So that long rest period is going to allow you to let all the plants express themselves without you overgrazing any plant. For me, overgrazing is not taking too much on the first pass. Like on a short duration. I mean, I'm trying to take as much grass as I can, as long as I can keep my cows happy. The cows are like the first thing at the ranch. They're driving the whole thing, and they're driving how big a pasture I need to build, depending on the year, depending on the day, depending on the rains. That is, as sizing the paddock is the built-in flexibility into our approach, because you always have to have some flexibility. Sometimes we go in that way. Oh, but it didn't rain there. Okay, then we go that way. Oh, it rained too much. Like in 2022, we have that 9 inches in 10 days. So we get out of the flats and get into the mountain range for 3 months. So it's all about, you know, changing. That's why when people say, oh, do you have a formula? We engineers are pretty bad at this, let me tell you. Only the analytical skills are really good, but we want like straight lines, and we want a formula, and it doesn't work that way. This is more an art than a science. It's more of you observing your cows. Are they happy? Well, oh no, well, we missed a little bit. Okay, open up the next day. How many annuals you have? How many perennials? How much green you have? As long as we can keep the cows happy. Like in Australia, someone asked me, so what do you do during the drought? Do you leave a lot of grass behind? I don't have to think about much that. It's the cows deciding that. If I'm not supplementing, I will not try to eat the grass in a drought, the whole grass. I just leave more because I'm always taking a look at how the cows are doing. So the cows are giving me the feedback to actually say, okay, for example, at the mountain range, we were eating, there's the mountain range, which has perennials. The flats have perennials, but it's in between that the water flows so much that we're still working on that, trying to regenerate that. So it's mostly annual grasses. When we got there, when the annual grasses were green, the cows eat them all. But on our way back, 2 months after, the annual grasses were pretty much yellow. We skip them. We have a little bit of a challenge as ranchers to say, oh, but that plant is useless because my cows don't need it. Well, it's there for a reason. Even if it is a weed and annual, it's there for a reason, and it's covering the soil. Actually, the most important thing about a plant is what you don't see, the root system. Next. So we strive for one herd, because even though in Mexico the labor may be cheaper, but we don't want to have more people than what we need. It's getting also difficult there to get people to work on the ranches. So I have my foreman, I have a cowboy, and that's it. And well, the shepherd for the sheep. No more, no less, and very few machinery there. No, well, we don't have irrigated pastures as well because we're too lazy probably. Multiple species, they will always do a better job. Like we have on the herd, the horses, the saddle horses we're not using, the mares, the donkeys, and the cattle are in one herd. We don't have pasture for horses or this or that because it will make things more complicated and reduce the rest time. Most of the bulls that we have, we raise them, but we also buy once in a while, like those Hereford bulls or people that we like how they raise their cattle. We keep most of our heifers as well, and we are hard on the cows. And well, I already told you this. We have to see our ranch as a laboratory. If we all work together as a community, instead you can do like 2 or 3 experiments and the other guy, and then we all together are gonna see a lot of advancements because we're showing the results. Next. Well, what do you think about that? It's patented. Even the picture is protected. But no, take pictures so I can get some royalties. Well, the lawyer will get the royalties, right? You know what's the name of that donkey? Side by side. Here the message is that guy doesn't have roads, doesn't have like anything, but he's making it work. So we need to be intentional with these guys. There's a lot of support here that you can get from the government. I have seen in other ranches that they do a little bit of great things at the ranch, and we don't have any support there. But it's incredible what people actually sometimes do. Like one of our veterinarians, he does a lot of this stuff. I think actually he was the one actually to get me into this stuff. He's kind of a unique veterinarian, you know, because sometimes we struggle a lot with the doctors and vets and all that stuff. And he got a client that he said, hey, can you help us consulting? And he said, yeah. And they only have 4 cows. And he told the vet, we're gonna sell 2 cows to pay you. I said, no. I give it that for free. So people are really willing to take the steps to do this. Next. Thank you, folks. Okay. Now we have some time for questions. Anyone? Yes. I don't run it with the cows yet. What we do with the sheep is we build like these portable corrals, and then they always nearby the cows, but not exactly with the cows. Yeah. I think probably I'm in a box there. I cannot really like visualize how I'm gonna run the sheep with the cows yet. Yeah. That could be one reason. Yeah, but we have a shepherd. We have a shepherd with the sheep. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. Still trying to figure out what to do, not getting the cows fat. Yes.
Yeah, so we have sheep, and then I have one donkey and sheep together. Donkey are so motherly, and they step on the lamb or lamb seed and lost quite a number of your lambs. If you ever try it, don't put donkey and sheep together.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, yeah, the recommendation is not to put donkeys and sheep together. Yeah, we have guard dogs as well. They get a little bit crazy between donkeys and guard dogs when they encounter, you know. But what we have learned about the donkeys is that you actually have to create that social structure. Because many people have just like the female donkey or two males, and we're trying to get like a family of donkeys. Some people complain about the donkeys kind of biting the cows, but we haven't seen that because we're trying to keep that social structure of a family of donkeys, so they are on their business, but they are on the same map. They're on the same map, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you talked about your water system.
Yes.
Is that mostly just to give water to the cows, or is there an element of irrigation to that?
Okay, yeah, my water system is based on wells, pipeline, mostly 2-inch pipeline, all gravity, because you know we have different elevations, so we can actually, by gravity, we can pressure the line. And troughs and water tanks, all distributed, but then just because we have like 350 permanent electric fence paddocks, doesn't mean that we have 350 troughs. The troughs are shared by multiple paddocks, and then those permanent 1-wire high-tension electric fence paddocks, the 250, they can be subdivided depending on the year. For example, 2022 was a pretty good year, 11 inches. We grow a lot of grass, and we ended up with about splitting the pastures, or actually more like a strip grazing, 1,000 paddocks. Now, last year didn't rain, 500 paddocks. So yeah, it depending on the year, but yeah.
But the water system has nothing to do with irrigation. It's 100% to get water to the cow.
Exactly. Yes, it's just only stock. Sorry, yeah, it's only stock water. I mean, and I think that's been a blessing for us, because unfortunately, I have seen ranchers in the U.S. where they have 3% pivots, 90% rangeland, and they are trying to do all their cattle business on the pivots, and they have forgotten about how to actually make the rangeland, which is more less costly to work. So yeah, we don't have any choice. We just have to make the rangeland work, because we don't have any irrigation. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes.
What was your hardest or more difficult part about transitioning from your early grazing system to the mob grazing system?
Well, see, what was the most difficult part to move from conventional, let's say, to regen holistic, right? Well, I was lucky, because sometimes the most difficult part is your mindset, right? What you've been doing for many years. Even though my dad grew up in a family ranch, he was the 3rd generation. My granddad lost a ranch, so my dad has to go and work at a bank at 14 years old. And you know, the bank has a different mentality, like a lot of changes, right? Constantly changes. So when I told my dad that I wanted to do something different, he told me, who's doing it? You know, typically question, right? Because remember, a banker, no credit bureau on his time. So who are you? Who's your parents, reputation. So it happened that the two guys that were doing that in Chihuahua, who were my mentors, were, you know, good, reputable families, hardworking. They said, well, that sounds good. Show me the results. And that was really good for me. But I think the mindset in many families, like, and I have to be honest with you, when I go and work with ranch families, kids get it really fast. Women get it really fast. We are the ones sometimes the problem on those families. Men. And well, but yeah, I think it's the mindset, because I have seen a lot of young people trying to do something and the parents don't allow them to do something. Yeah. You can do it in a small scale, you know. Nobody's going to lose the ranch. Yes.
I live in an area with similar precipitation needs, but the majority of it comes in the wintertime, not during the growing season.
Right.
How would your management change in that scenario?
My management, yeah, like you get you get the rains in winter, I get the rains in summer. You get a little bit in summer,
Very little.
sometimes and sometimes. Yeah, I think we're on the same page. We're trying to keep that water, but in order for us to store that water on the first inches, we need to have good ground cover. Well, first of all, we need to extend the green season to, I mean, the livestock is the one bringing the biology that we need, right? Because in the desert, where's the biology? Is on the rumen, right? Or, I mean, I don't want to talk only about cattle, but livestock. So they bring the biology, they're gonna extend the green season of the grasses, because when I started my tobolsa, which is like the family of the gallera, that was green only 3 months. Oh my God, how difficult it is to do cattle ranching when you only have 3 months of green. You gotta put a lot of money from your pocket. Now, some of the spots of the ranch, we have a little bit of green at the bottom during those 8 months of no rain. So that would be the same, you know. But you have to move eventually, keep being intentional, even a small scale on daily moves. I don't want to talk about pounds per acre. That is probably useless in this context, because we just make the paddock at a size that will hold our cows for, let's say, 1 day or 3 days, whatever it is. That's it. Because even if you crunch numbers on the pounds per acre, if I have patches of grass and I do the math, it's very different than what you're seeing, because the cows are concentrating on those patches. It's way much higher. So, and then remember that we're always trying to keep those cows happy, like the well-being of the cows is first, because you will always have time to fix the soil, but you cannot skip years on ranching, because you will get broken. And then that's why you're always gonna also start selecting, but it's the same approach. So you bring the biology, the grasses extend the green season, the grasses can do more photosynthesis, because remember, the mycorrhizal fungi changes every 20 days. So we have those long periods, or basis is a lot of annuals. Then we have all that time with no mycorrhizal fungi, no aggregation, no in the soil, no infiltration, and so on. So we will not be able to hold. Look at your grasses, look at your root system. Is the root system going sideways or just going more deeper? We need water and air in the soil to actually have a deep-rooted grasses. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
So when you're transitioning and you're going from bare ground to weeds and you have those toxic plants, do you just leave it alone? Do you graze it?
Yeah, the question is, when you're in the succession of plants, obviously, as we say, you're not gonna jump from bare ground to what you really envision, right? Like, for example, I envision in my ranch, I had a vision in my ranch to have, not to be able to see my cows. But I'm not really talking of miniature cows, just like taller grasses. So I think there's a difference when you're going down and the nature is gonna tell you. It's just we don't listen to nature. It's gonna tell you, I'm gonna throw you a lot of toxic plants because I'm lacking biology. As when you are going up, and then with animal impact biology, you're gonna have a lot of forbs and some weeds, but most of the time you're not promoting those bad weeds. You're promoting good weeds. And the other thing is that you gotta get those cows full, because if those cows, we almost sometimes force those cows to eat those toxic plants because they're hungry. So if they're not hungry, I have seen like local wheat and they don't touch the local wheat. Well, horses are a different thing. They love local wheat. But if they're full and you keep your cows full, you will have much less of a problem. Some people have used also other animals like sheep or goats to actually manage that as well. Donkeys, I haven't tried with donkeys. What happened with a donkey? Yeah, but yeah, one thing is when you're going down and then nature gets more aggressive, and when you're going up, nature is going to start rewarding you on more forbs, and yeah, and then keep those cows calm. You can see just the behavior of the cow, and you'll see how good of a job you did before, or the day before. Yes?
So when you're beginning and you don't have anything else, hardly anything out there to make them full, how are you keeping them happy before you get to the second goal?
Yeah, so you see, I mean, you're saying that you don't have much to feed the cows? Yeah, anyway, I mean, we are actually, a lot of you are using like bale grazing, right? So putting bales would be one way, you know. For us, it's very expensive to take bales to my ranch. So what we usually do is try to make the pastures a little bit bigger, or in such a way that you include a little bit of grass and bare ground. Because cows are pretty smart. They graze and then they take all that fertility into bare ground. They don't lay down on the grass, they lay down on the bare ground. And they put the manure on the bare ground. So they know how to transfer. They're pretty good at working for next year feed. So we try to combine different areas. So we have at least a little bit of grass, or in the worst case scenario. But remember, see, this in our context, well, the Chihuahuan desert, let me be more specific, but this is also a desert. It doesn't work to graze half and leave half. That doesn't work combined. I mean, maybe if you're trying to put some pounds on the steers, or some cows are gonna say, oh yeah, that's cool. But eventually, you gotta have your herd to work well the land, as long as your cows are happy. And it doesn't work because I already tried it. I already tried taking half and grazing multiple times per year. Oh my God, it created a mess because we don't have really the moisture, or when we start, we haven't really fixed the water cycle. So it's important for you to do as deep grazing as possible. And then, see, what doesn't work is taking half in this context and then waiting for a year, because my God, it's gonna look pretty bad. Don't be shy. Yes?
So as well as the bell feeding, would you want to introduce seeds to your plan and try and have more things growing, or you just wait and see what comes up?
Yeah, I would try to wait, because you know, probably you're starting with a place that is not ready yet for the seeds. And as you advance, maybe you want to give it a try. What we have done, we did it just 1 year. And this was a non-native seed, but we did a test because the vet says, why don't you put a little bit of this grass into your feeder, salt feeder? Oh yeah, it did germinate, because you know, probably it did germinate because the cow pie is creating better conditions for that to germinate. But that was, we did that after 10 years of grazing. Like, there were still some bare spots, and that introduced grass, non-native grass is good at covering that. But then we have seen that the natives eventually beat them. Did I answer?
Yeah,
Yes, okay.
that's a unique way to seed for sure.
Say that again?
I said that's a unique way to spread the seed.
Yeah, it works. it works. Maybe you don't like have the whole thing, but you have patches, and then the cows and your management is going to start spinning. But also what we have seen is that you don't have to have the seed on the bank, on the underground, bank of seeds. If you create the conditions for the seed to germinate, it will come somewhere. Same for the dung beetles and the termites. It all comes somewhere. Because now you have the conditions, and it is even the birds or the livestock or the wildlife or the wind or the water that will put the seed because the conditions are there. Mhm. Yep. Yes.
What can we expect from there's people who believe to regenerate diversity, remove grazing. How do you compare that outcome to the outcome of, say, using grazing to change? It's probably hashing over what you're trying to teach us. I see a big movement nowadays to remove grazing from public lands, particularly
Oh.
public land state. What can we expect, say, if we lock up some of our grasslands and remove grazing completely? How will that compare to, say, management?
Oh no, I mean there's no comparison between removing the cattle and managing the cattle like rationally, like holistic. Well, I think we ran out of batteries. Do you have? Oh no, yes, back. Well, I don't know. Let's see. So no, there's no comparison. Actually, these days we saw a ranch where the grasses has been rested there for the other side of the fence. It did have more grass, right? And where the rancher on this side of the fence have less grass. And that was exactly the question. What happened if you just rest it? We're in a brittle environment. We need the grazers to bring the biology because we don't have the biology. So what happened is that, I mean, that's why we love long rest periods, but they have like an expiration date. After 2-3 years, it's going to start degrading. See the national parks. They're terrible, horrible deserts. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding in institutions, you name it, government, you name it, conservationists. I think, one of the fights we have is like, and I'm really sorry when they have more power than the ranchers, or mislead the ranchers, and they say, oh, this is pretty degraded, lower your cattle numbers. That is wrong, because what we need is many more cattle right now managed in a way that we will restore the places. We don't have enough cattle. Anywhere I have been, there's not enough cattle, and they are going backwards. Because the grasses are dying. In Australia, I mean, they have a huge problem as well, desertification. But in Australia, most of the places you have trees. If you go like on a chopper or airplane, then you see like a forest. But if you're now here, then you see it's more like a savanna. Where the trees are dying as well. Because a lot of the trees that they have used to be among grasslands. So you don't have grasslands, you will not have trees. And as we saw, you also will have bad fires. Because also that overprotection, for example, of elk. We have clients that they have done a great job, and they have a bunch of elk getting to their property. Why not we more flexible and let those ranchers kill more elk? Because they're doing a good job. Well, no, we'll go back to, on this area, we allow just this number of elk. Yeah, but he's doing a better job than the neighbors. So no, I'm completely against that. I think we need more education, more proof, so we can all work together, because I think the situation is pretty bad now. Hey, raise your hand, the guys from not just for the government. See, the worst thing that could happen to me is they take me on a plane back to Mexico, so I don't care. Yes?
How often do you want to move your cows?
How often do I want to move my cows? That is a very personal decision. Obviously, the more often you move, the better will be, but we have never gone to the extremes. And I can share with you a story where we did a little trial on the flat land, which is very compacted because that's where historically where the cattle has been. And we did like a very, very intensive grazing for just a week, like 5 moves per day. It didn't make any difference because the land was not ready to take that much biology. So it's better for you to take it slowly and then keep observing. For example, in my mountain range, just one graze revamp it. I mean, just regenerate the whole thing. It was just impressive. I was downplaying my mountain range because it will be more difficult to fence, to put the water. But the mountain range now is like, it has saved us in very trough because the mountain range has never been grazed. But you know, obviously all the grass was oxidized because you know, we don't have the number of bighorn or deer that we need. But it was pretty incredible what happened in the mountain range when we put the cattle there. It just is so beautiful now. And we can even raise the mountain range for 3 years and the grass will not get degraded. Maybe because there's no compaction like on the, because remember, oxidation is the lack of oxygen, meaning that the more compacted your soils are, the faster the grasses are going to oxidize and they will lose the whole value. Anyone else? Oh, yes. Hey, you already asked a question, right, yesterday? Okay, sounds good. Okay, let me rephrase that. Take half, leave half does work in my context, but what do you want? I mean, it does work in my context for a few years, right? People taking half, leaving half, even not only in my context, but higher ground, like where they house also grandmas, higher ground in Chihuahua, like we're talking about 5,000, 6,000 feet. We ended up with a monoculture. That's what we ended up with. Because only the grasses that can support that grazing are going to be the grasses surviving that. So the thing about taking more combined with longer periods, that is really what is promoting diversity, and we are all for diversity. Now, you may say, yeah, but my cows are gonna die on eating all that, stuff from 1 year ago, or 1.5 years ago, 18 months. Well, as a rancher, I do prefer to have all stockpiled and no grass, right? And if you have diversity, then something is gonna come up. You have cool season grasses, warm season grasses, full rooted. Remember, well, for me, overgrazing means you're getting back too soon, which, if you manage for what you have right now, you will be overgrazing. Because you're not allowing like for example, my tall grasses, they need a full year of rest. I have seen so much overgrazing because we're working only for 5 to 10 grasses. We need to have a management that will work for you to end up having 100 grasses, 200 different grasses. And that's what's gonna make your property very resilient. Did I answer? Or I tell you what I wanted to tell you? I mean, okay, for me overgrazing is staying too long. So remember that the reserve is the root system, right? So let's say that you're getting into a grass after the boot stage, because you're getting, like when it's forming the seed, when you're grazing a grass before the boot stage, you're overgrazing. The problem with staying too long is that, and taking too much, is that you're not taking too much all at once. You're taking too much slowly. So let's say that the grass is growing, right? I mean, it's already, it's fully grown. And then you get the cattle there, right? And then you don't move the cows, and they stay, let's say, 15 days there. And it's in the growing season. And then the grass is using the reserve, and then it bites again. That is a problem. For me, it's not a problem when you go on a day, 2 days, 3 days, and they take as much as possible. I mean, usually, it depending on the grass. But as I was telling you, I'm always observing my cows. Maybe I'm gonna take just a third because I'm in a drought. My cows are dictating how much they're gonna take. Usually in the growing season, for example, the mountain range, they take them all. All. You should see how beautiful it comes up after 2 years of rest. It's just gorgeous. But yeah, I mean, I'm not afraid of taking too much as long as I don't mess it up with the well-being of my cows. And as long as also is in a short time. Mhm. Yes?
Is there any benefit letting your grasses go to seed, or is it more that you just want to build that root system underground to allow that whole seed to grow?
Okay, can you say the question again?
So,
Can you repeat?
is there a benefit when you let your grasses go all the way to maturity?
Yes.
Is that beneficial more because they're producing seed, or because that root system's been able to fully develop?
You know, I think for me the most important thing, well, besides diversity, promoting diversity, letting all sizes of grasses, grow and mature, and forbs. Well, let me give you a brief story. Shane New, who works also in Understanding Ag from Kansas, he got 40 inches. He went to my ranch, and he's pretty experimental guy. So he gave in Kansas a full year of rest. Think about it. He was grazing like 3 times, 4 times per year. He found 5 new forbs. That probably he was overgrazing those forbs by grazing multiple times per year. So for me, keeping the grass, the stockpile, mature, is not only promoting diversity, but it's fixing the water cycle. Because what we have seen is now that we get into a new paddock, you're grazing the stockpile, but if it is in the spring, you have the green up, right, at the bottom, coming up. And then the cows, that's a pretty good diet for the cows because you don't want loose manure. You don't want to just be grazing the green up. You are damaging the grass and you are not actually doing any good to your cows. And that way the cows can take the green, but also they can balance the diet with the yellow stuff. Yeah, I mean, and having that stockpile is good. I mean, like for the bird guys, they love it because, we always have a piece of the ranch with good standing grasses for the birds. Anyone else? Last question? Yes?
Yes, the question essentially is, can you overgraze an area by just grazing during the dormant season? There's some ranges that are just grazed November and March. So everything is dormant at that time. Okay? No rotation of grazing, and those cattle basically disperses. Is there a problem with overgrazing there? I guess there probably is. You can kind of talk about what that is.
I think one of the important things here is for you on the same pasture, not to graze that pasture or paddock at the same time of the year every year, because you will be ended up promoting the same kind of grasses. Now, dormant is kind of in quotes because that grass is not dormant. If you do a proper grazing management, that grass should have some green on it. Because remember, we're talking about perennials. We're trying to get from annuals who are dead. I mean, annuals are not even dormant, they are dead. But perennials should never be dormant. They should always have something green at the bottom. No, I'm not concerned about that at all. I mean, we will graze them, but remember that the power of rest, I think what we're lacking in a lot of ranches, the power of rest will actually get that grass, because the root system is going to remain there, because it's just a one deal. I mean, the problem is when your cows stay too long there, and then they will overgraze that grass in summer, winter, dormant, awake, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, but no, I'm not concerned about that. We do graze deep in winter as well, because we have been able to get some green at the bottom, and they're looking for that green. And that prevents me from actually supplementing my cows. So if I'm selecting my cows from the ones, I mean, I'm spreading the genes from the ones that are doing good, and then improving the nutrition, you know, because we have a little bit of green, then those guys will do well, and also the ranch will do well. I mean, we'll do better, I would say. Yeah. And now, I mean, if it does work, remember me. If it doesn't work, complaints, Tony. You take the hit. Well, thank you very much, guys, for spending some time.